Ah, the sweet smell of royal rivalry in the morning. In the regal world where crowns and gowns make the headlines, a fresh chapter unfolds that has everyone talking. It's the ongoing saga between the Sussexes and the Windsors, a tale of family ties and frayed nerves. The heart of this royal drama? The Sussexes' recent tour in Nigeria, which was nothing short of a resounding success, sparking more than just applause. It ignited jealousy. The tour was marked by vibrant engagements and meaningful dialogues, showcasing the Sussexes in a light that many found refreshing and innovative. This wasn't just another royal walkabout. It was a powerful demonstration of diplomacy and charm, infused with genuine interest and respect for the cultural heritage and aspirations of the Nigerian people. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the Windsors and their close circles were reportedly less than thrilled. Sources whisper of a brewing storm of envy, as weeks after the triumphant tour, the Windsors are still grappling with the global praise lavished on the Sussexes. It appears the more the Sussexes flourish independently, the more it stings the establishment. This royal rift isn't just about differing approaches to duty and service, it's a vivid illustration of modern monarchy in motion versus the traditional. As the Sussexes continue to chart their course, unbound by the old guard's expectations, they inadvertently highlight the contrasts in royal engagement and effectiveness. If jealousy were a sport, it seems the Windsors might be world champions. Let's dive into what made the Sussexes' Nigerian tour a resounding success. Unlike typical royal tours, which often follow a strictly ceremonial script, this visit was a vibrant showcase of proactive engagement and meaningful dialogue. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, through their foundation Archewell, partnered with Nigeria's Defense Department. This collaboration was aimed at supporting various initiatives, including youth empowerment and women's health programs. Observers, both local and international, praised the tour for its depth and genuine connection with the communities. The Sussexes didn't just perform ceremonial duties. They engaged in deep, impactful conversations and participated in local activities that resonated with the people. This approach not only enriched their understanding, but also highlighted their commitment to issues affecting the region. In stark contrast to the so-called Caribbean Flop Tour of 2022, which was marred by criticisms of being out of touch, the Sussexes tour was lauded for its sensitivity and relevance. Where previous royal tours often faced backlash for their colonial overtones and superficial engagements, Harry and Meghan demonstrated a new progressive model for royal visits. They focused on mutual respect, listening and learning, rather than just showcasing. The partnership between Archewell and Nigeria's Defense Department is particularly noteworthy. It wasn't just about photo ops, but about real, substantive projects that promise long-term benefits. For instance, their initiatives in education and health are tailored to address specific local needs, rather than imposing foreign solutions. This not only fosters goodwill, but also builds sustainable relationships. The success of this tour has been a clear indicator of the potential for modern royalty to play a constructive role in global affairs, beyond mere ceremonial presence. It shows that with the right approach, royal engagements can foster international goodwill and support for substantive causes. It appears that doing good can indeed look good. Take note, royal tour planners. Now, let's rewind to a not-so-glorious chapter in royal touring history. Picture this. The year is 2022, and Prince William and Kate embark on a tour across the Caribbean. This venture, intended to strengthen ties and celebrate shared history, unfortunately, spiraled into a series of missteps and controversies that are still talked about today. Why was this tour seen as a failure? Well, it was marred by accusations of racism and lingering colonial overtones. The imagery of the royal couple riding in a Land Rover, reminiscent of a bygone era of British rule, sparked significant backlash. This visual alone seemed to underscore an outdated and tone-deaf approach to what was supposed to be a modern diplomatic mission. Critics were quick to point out that the tour felt more like a throwback to colonial days rather than a genuine effort to connect with the diverse cultures of the Caribbean. This disconnect was palpable, and the fallout was immediate. Protests erupted in various locations, with demonstrators calling for reparations and an end to the monarchy's symbolic presence in their countries. This tour has since become a cautionary tale. It serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance required when navigating international relations and cultural sensitivities. The repercussions of this flop are still used to illustrate how not to conduct a royal tour, influencing discussions and planning of future royal engagements. Sometimes, to understand success, one must first study failure. Royal tours aren't just about shaking hands and smiling for cameras. Traditionally, these high-profile visits serve a multitude of purposes. They're not merely ceremonial jaunts, but strategic moves designed to bolster the nation's image, promote diplomatic ties, and advance cultural and humanitarian interests abroad. Essentially, they're a soft power tool in the grand chessboard of international relations. Now, let's pivot to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Since stepping back as senior members of the royal family, commonly referred to as Megxit, the Sussexes have redefined what it means to engage with the world on their own terms. Their tours, such as the notable one in Nigeria, aren't orchestrated under the banner of British royal duties, but are instead aligned with their private charitable organization, Archewell. This shift raises an intriguing question. Are Harry and Meghan still expected to promote British interests? The answer isn't straightforward. As private citizens, the Sussexes are no longer tethered by the obligations that bind working royals. Their focus has shifted towards their own advocacies and humanitarian efforts, which, while impactful, are distinct from the national interests traditionally promoted on royal tours. This independence has led to significant successes, but also to criticisms from various quarters, who argue that they should somehow still be ambassadors of British interests. The expectations placed on them as private citizens are worth examining. Is it realistic or fair to anticipate that they would adhere to the same objectives as those on official royal duty? This is where the lines blur. On one hand, their royal lineage and global influence position them as informal ambassadors wherever they go. On the other, their decision to step back means they are free to chart their own course without the explicit need to serve British diplomatic agendas. Perhaps the line between duty and independence isn't as clear as one might think. No royal discussion is complete without some gaffes, right? When it comes to the royal family, the occasional slip of the tongue or a faux pas is almost expected during their globe-trotting tours. From off-the-cuff remarks that raise eyebrows to cultural misunderstandings that make headlines, these incidents have sometimes overshadowed the purpose of their visits. Take, for instance, the time a senior royal managed to offend their hosts during a dinner speech, or when another inadvertently broke local customs by wearing the wrong attire at a ceremonial event. These gaffes, while often brushed off as minor, can sometimes carry significant diplomatic weight, casting long shadows on the royal family's efforts to foster international relationships. In stark contrast, the recent tour by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in Nigeria showcased a seamless execution of public engagements without a hint of controversy. Their approach was markedly different, focusing on respect and understanding of local traditions and customs. It seems the Sussexes managed to tour without tripping over royal protocol, or their own words. Success can be hard to swallow for some, especially if it's not your own. As the Duke and Duchess of Sussex continue to chart their course, their repeated triumphs seem to be a bitter pill for the traditional royal factions to digest. Each achievement of the Sussexes not only shines a light on their capabilities, but also casts a long shadow over the conventional royal undertakings. The narrative within the royal corridors has always been about maintaining a certain decorum and following well-trodden paths. However, the Sussexes, with their dynamic approach and successful international engagements, challenge this narrative at every turn. Their ability to connect with global audiences and address contemporary issues has redefined what it means to be a modern royal. This shift hasn't been easy for everyone in the royal family. The more the Sussexes succeed, the more it seems to exacerbate the underlying tensions. It's a classic case of success, not just being about the achievements, but also about how it shifts the perceptions and expectations of those around you. In the world of royals, it seems success is not just about what you do, but also about who notices. Well, that was a royal roller coaster. Today, we delved into the contrasting narratives of royal tours, highlighting the marked difference between the Sussexes' impactful journey in Nigeria and the less favorable outcomes of other royal tours. The ongoing tension between traditional royal expectations and modern interpretations of those duties has never been more apparent. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have indeed set a new course, one that not only respects traditional roles, but also embraces a broader, more inclusive vision. Their successful tour in Nigeria, juxtaposed with other less successful royal excursions, underscores a shift towards a more engaged and culturally sensitive approach to international relations. As we reflect on these narratives, it becomes clear that the Sussexes are not just participating in events, they are redefining what it means to be royally involved in global affairs. They challenge the status quo, paving the way for future generations to possibly imagine a different kind of royal influence. Thank you everyone for watching the video, and show some love by subscribing and sharing the video. Remember to leave a comment. Thank you. I am your loyal host, Zane.